Welcome to the Pebble in My Shoe podcast. I'm Miffy Hoad, your host here, and each episode I'm in conversation with my guests about the pebble in their shoe that has nudged them to choose a life that aligns them closer to their truth and authentic self. The pebble in my shoe is an analogy for an inner niggle or knowing that becomes so insistent that we have to pay attention. We can ignore it only for so long and eventually have to stop to investigate it, listen to it, and honor what it's telling us. It becomes a catalyst for action to change something that no longer serves us. This can be something internal, like a belief or mindset. It can be about how we behave in certain situations or relationships. Or it can be something that changes our life trajectory, like ending a relationship, changing careers, or moving to a different place. Taking the action and making the change invariably requires courage, often a leap of faith, and at the very least, to try something new and outside of our comfort zone. Whatever the action or change happens to be, the pebble ultimately moves us to live more authentically and more aligned to our true nature. My intention for the conversations here is to inspire or offer hope to those of you who resonate with the stories shared, that you'll hear something that supports you on your own journey, and if there's a pebble in your shoe, that you'll find the courage to make the changes that align you closer with your authentic self. Thank you for being here, and let me introduce today's guest. Sharon McErlane is the founder of The Net of Light and Grandmothers Speak. She's the author of 4 books: A Call to Power, The Grandmothers Speak, Our Love is Our Power, Casting the Net, and The Return of the Mother, The Return to Love. Sharon lives in California and travels the world teaching people how to work with the net of light and sharing the teachings of the Great Council of Grandmothers. Over 200 groups meet around the world to anchor the net of light and share the grandmother's teachings. There's no charge for this work. Having worked with the net of light in my personal practice for many years, and more formally in the last 2 years, hosting Net of Light gatherings online, I had the pleasure of meeting Sharon at a powerful Net of Light event held in Trier, Germany last year. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you, Sharon, to the Pebble in My Shoe.
That's lovely. Thank you, Miffy. I'm glad to be with you.
So Sharon, you've written these wonderful books that share a story and a message and work that is to be done by us. But can you bring me back to before the grandmothers came into your life? You know, tell me about yourself and your work and what brought you to that point where the grandmothers appeared.
Well, prepare yourself, because I've lived a long life. There's a lot of years here accumulated. And all my life, I was in hot pursuit of God. I wanted to know what this world was really about. And I tried organized religion, and I was a very devout little kid. And then as an adult, I kept looking, and I couldn't bear church because I felt so confined in it. It just felt like it was squeezing me tight, and I wanted to expand. I was so eager to learn and adventure and find out what was real. Where's the truth here? So I began, of course, to meditate, to study and read voraciously, and did all these forms of self-exploration. This was, of course, I did all that in the 70s and the 60s, and it was, that time for that. And then I started going to India, and was going to India for 12, 14 years, every other year or so, sometimes every year, going to India to sit in meditation and in view of the holy ones. And I would go to see Satya Sai Baba in the south of India. And it was a very profound experience. It answered a lot of that feeling I had about wanting to connect with God. What was all this about? And so I was doing that, and I'd been there, and I'd finally had an interview with him, which was the most coveted thing imaginable for someone like me. because there were thousands of people there every day. And to be able to have that personal attention with him was very, longed for. So I had this, and it was beautiful. And he knew everything about me. And, there was no way in this practical earth that he could have, because I was one of maybe 15,000 people there that day. But he knew everything. He told me all about myself. And I came home from that trip just thrilled to my bones, and I thought, this is it. There is a God. I know everything is real. Now I'm just going to sit and meditate and own for the rest of my life. That's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Up to, as you see what's coming here. There's no way I could have done that. I don't have that in my temperament. I have, as my grandmother used to say, Sharon, you have ants in your pants. I do. And I have to go and do and, be busy. And I'm just like that. So sure enough, I've been home for a couple weeks. And then Roger, my husband, and I had gone camping, horse camping with a group of people up in the Sierra Mountains. And so there we were out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night in our tent, and I'm sleeping. And here he comes in a dream. And he looks at me and he says, what do you want? And I said, well, I want God. Like, what are you talking about? Of course, I want God. He said, yeah. And what do you want besides God? And I thought, what? What's he talking about? There's nothing besides God. And that, my consternation woke me up. And there I was, tossing and turning. What is there? What's he talking about?
Can I just ask you to clarify who the he was in your dream? Was that Sai Baba?
Sai Baba.
Okay.
Yeah. Then it's, now what do I do with this? There's something besides God. What the heck is that? Okay. So I pondered that, agonized over it. And then one day I just thought, to hell with it. I know what I need. I need work, because I don't have the temperament to sit here and meditate day after day. I need work. I need to do service, something that I could do to help in this world. That's what I need. So when I realized that, boy, then I had that red hot fervor. Okay, give me something to do that uses everything I am. I don't want to waste my life. I felt like if I were a stove, I was maybe cooking on 2 burners, and I had all those other burners that weren't being used, and I wanted to cook on all my burners. I wanted to be full speed ahead, working full time for the divine. That's what I wanted.
Can I ask you, Sharon, what was your day job at the time? Like, did you have a day job?
that. Yes. Yes, I was a psychotherapist. I saw people for therapy. I was busy. I was every Thursday I fed the homeless down at the beach. I did psychotherapy. I was a Reiki master. I was teaching Reiki. Oh yeah, I wasn't boring, but it wasn't enough, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy when I think about it. It's funny actually, but I just knew that I had this life, this one life. Well, maybe many, but this one I'm living, one life, and I needed to use it to the max. So that's why I was asking, okay, give me work to do that uses everything.
Okay. Can I ask you as well, Sharon, at what point in your life is this? Do you know, like, how old are you, kind of thing, when this sort of stuff was going down for you?
Yes, I thought I was very old then. I was 54. And now that I am very old, I see, that wasn't so old at all. But I thought I was ancient, over the hill, and, kind of done with everything. And then it blasted me with this new trip. So here I am praying with this, give me work to do that uses everything I've got. And I'm walking the dog, which I did every morning. Our golden retriever had died, and so I was walking my neighbor's dog down by the beach, and I'm walking along, and it's a normal morning. It's about 6 o'clock, just barely light, and I'm walking, and I'm seeing my neighbors, walking, and all of a sudden, ahead of me on the path, I see this group of old women, gray hair, long gray hair, blowing in the wind. And then I noticed, look at those women. They're dressed in these outfits, these strange outfits. And I see that they're all in what we call native costumes. Here's one, looks like a Native American woman wearing these deerskin fringed dresses and moccasins. And then here's a beautiful, beautiful, elegant Black woman, tall, with these copper necklaces stacked up her neck, elongating her neck. She's really elegant. There were a couple who looked like they were from Asia. There were several who looked like they stepped off the pages of a children's Bible. They had these cauls or shawls over their head, wrapped in these cloaks. And then there were little ones. They were kind of short. They looked like they were from Central America, with little beads, necklaces around their necks. And all these women, they're standing together, they're laughing, they're singing, and they're beckoning me to come over to them. And I was stunned because I'd never seen anyone look like that in Laguna Beach, California, which was where I was living then. Nobody like that. And then they were laughing and having such a good time. I was quite, attracted to going over to see them. But then I noticed, oh my gosh, I could see through them. I was able to see the surf breaking through their bodies, and I could see the trees and the leaves. And then I got really disoriented and thought, wait a minute, this is a dream. I'm not here. I'm still asleep. This is a dream. But no, it wasn't a dream. And I thought, am I crazy? Is this dissociation? Am I going crazy here? But I felt really good. And so I had to get over myself, and they just laughed and laughed. And I could see by their faces, they had a lot of compassion for me, like, oh, that poor dear, look at her go through all that. And because they were so patient and accepting, I kind of calmed down a little, and then they began to speak. And when they began to speak, everything they said made such sense to me that I was able to let the fear go and just be with them. And they said, we are the great council of the grandmothers. We've come at this time because the earth is in grave danger. The basic energies on earth, what you humans call yin and yang, those are not exactly right, but they'll do, they said. These two are out of balance. There is too much of the energy of yang, the masculine principle of action, doing, going, building, and there's not enough of the feminine principle, the energy of yin, the energy of holding, nurturance, support, and feeding. And because of this great imbalance, life on earth is teetering on the precipice. All the ills you see in the world today, the violence, the crimes against the helpless, all the wars, the greed, the lying, all of this is just a manifestation of the imbalance that's going on earth. There's too much energy of yang. It cannot rein itself in without the embrace of yin. And yin is so depleted. The feminine energy is so depleted. It's not strong enough to come in and help support yin. We will not see the earth destroyed, they said. That will not happen. And so we have come to restore the energy of yin back into your planet. And they said, we'll do this through individual women, primarily through individual women, because at this point, most men will not be attracted to this work. So I understood enough of that I knew it was good. And that it was something I wanted to know more about. From that point on, I've been on the ride with these grandmothers now for 28 years. They teaching me and me learning from them. I'm their student and they are my teachers. And whatever they teach me, I then pass on to everybody else. Much of it is in these 4 books. I'm writing a 5th book now. We do lots of work all over the world. There are many, many people, mostly women, a few men, involved in this work now all over the planet. And different language groups. The books have been translated into different language. And this is what we do. I can tell you more about that, but I think you might want to ask me something.
Yeah, I suppose there is the story, and I am going to ask you to share more of how it all evolved and how it has grown over the years to become a global movement, essentially. But I'm curious about the personal process for you, Sharon. I'm really curious about this because I think in my last episode, it was actually with my daughter, we talked about the sort of untapped resource that is our intuition. And I think as women, and it's part of this yin rising as well that is happening, I think we are learning to really honor our intuition. And so I'm really curious about that, because what you describe there about being on the beach and seeing these women and how very real it is and was, and then realizing that, hang on a minute, that I can see through them, and hang on a minute, am I disassociating? Am I going mad? But that you weren't, and that it was and is real. And so I'm curious then about that process for you of actually what it took within you to actually go ahead with what they asked you to do. Because some people might go, whoa, what is going on? No, thank you. How am I going to tell people that this is what I'm at, So can you talk me through how that was on a personal level, Sharon, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Miffy. I'm so used to it now. It's become normal for me now.
Yeah.
But that time, it was very frightening. It was way out of my ballpark. Yes, I'd been on a spiritual path, certainly, but it had been fairly well trodden by other people. It had been, it was a little out there to go to India as much as I did and to learn all the things I did, but not too far. But this was really out there, and I was scared. I was scared I would lose my relationships in my family. I was scared to talk about it with my husband because he's a basic guy, meat and potatoes kind of guy. And for me to, come in with this would be a big one. I was afraid for my work. I was afraid I'd lose my practice. People would say I was crazy, and I would not, I wouldn't get referrals. I would lose my business. I was concerned about friendships because I was always so impassioned about the truth. Where's the truth? But my friends were pretty much, let's get on with business. Let's go out. Let's go party. And I loved them, and that was fine, but they didn't understand this stuff. And I could see how I could become very, very isolated and ostracized. So I was scared on every front. And also, more than that, I was scared to trust this because I had been taught, as all of us have, that I was not worthy of something like this. Are you kidding? Not me. I am Miss Nobody, Mrs. Nobody. And all these wise ones, all these famous people, all these ministers, these priests, these whatever the heck, they know more than I do, but who do I think I am? And boy, this has been like a shedding of skins for me because it's gone on for so many years. And thank heaven, and I mean that literally, that the divine is so compassionate and only gives us as much to learn at one time as we can handle. But gradually, they peeled all this stuff off me. And so now, as I say to you, this is normal. This is, I recognize that, yes, I've had all these experiences and blah, 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 blah. But so what? They're available for everybody. And my job now is to help people accept that and trust themselves so they can have this connection with the divine, however the divine shows up to them.
Yeah. just, I suppose, to go back to that, just because if any of our listeners are in that place, I steal this expression from Rebecca Campbell, who's a modern day mystic I follow, and she talks about coming out of the spiritual closet. And for me, that's something very pertinent that I have been doing in the last few years personally. So I'm curious then how it was for you, essentially coming out of the spiritual closet in a way there with the grandmothers to your husband, to your friends. Like, how did that go down?
Not well at first.
Okay.
Very tough at first. I
Yeah.
had a couple, I was so scared. The funny, I laugh at this now, but I was terrified. With my husband, I said very little. And my husband would say to me, well, if you weren't there to see the flying saucer land, you really don't know what it's about, talking about himself, because he doesn't know what I'm talking. How's he
Mm,
going to believe me? It didn't happen to him, and I get
okay.
it. I get it.
Mm,
So with him, I basically just did this on the side. He's come around totally, but it took a long time. Um, I was scared that I would develop a reputation as a wacko, a crazy person. Okay, that was really bothering me. And I learned how to go to the grandmothers, set up my intention and go through this simple procedure and go to them. And I began to record everything they told me, everything. I talked it into a microphone, then I transcribed it, learned to do the computer because I didn't want to lose anything, any information that I got from them. But now I've lost my little train of thought here. What was I
well,
saying?
I was asking you about how it landed with your husband. You've described that. And then with your friends and, those
Okay.
concerns about coming out and saying, here's what's going
Yeah.
on. I've met these grandmothers and here's their message that I have to share with the world and just how that was.
Yeah. So this is a good one. I think I put this one in the first book. Okay. So I tell my good friend about this eventually, several months down the line. I give her a little shortened version of it and I tell her just enough. And so she's interested and she says, I have this group of women. I think they'd be interested. And I think, oh, good. I've been wanting to share this at last. Oh, I'm so grateful. I had this opportunity to do this. You see what's coming here. Yes, I see it on your face. You see it. Okay. So I have all these women come over and we have a lunch out in my back garden and everything. And so it comes my turn to talk. And so I say, well, and I kind of give them this little shortened version of what happened to me. And I'm looking at this woman and her face is getting red and she's getting redder and redder. And she got enraged at me. Who do you think you are? What are you talking about? I'm just enraged that I would have the temerity to talk about something like this. Anyway, and I sat there, kind of my fingernails. I remember to this day gripping the underside of the picnic table, getting splinters in my fingernails because I was hanging on for dear life. Anyway, I was so shaken by that. And then not too long after, I realized I was I was going to the grandmothers regularly and getting, learning from them. And they said to me, what happened there was exactly what needed to happen. You needed to encounter that fear, and you did. And you've lived through it, and you will live through it. And I did. And I mean, honestly, the worst thing that I could have imagined happened. And I was mortified. And later on, I heard of one of those women was talking to someone else in town saying she was worried about me because I was seeing apparitions. Yes, that was it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that happened. I also shared it with my nieces, a couple of my nieces, and they were horrified as well. Um, and since then, they've gotten over it too. So I
Mm,
had to go through this. And I did lose some of my friends because they just weren't interested. It was like,
mm,
Sharon has gone off on this tear and that's not something I want to do. But it was okay. The reward of getting more in touch with myself and really knowing how deep I did run and could run was worth it all.
okay.
And so I persevered.
Mm.
And in time, developed other friends. In time, my husband saw the great good that came of this work, and now he helps me with it.
Yeah. And I've met Roger, and you're just so lovely together. Um, I suppose I'm curious as well, though, to drill a little into your courage, Sharon, because you talk about persevering, you talk about going to the grandmothers a lot for guidance and their compassion. But yeah, I'm interested in the courage it took to really get on this path.
Yes, I never would have, I never thought of myself as courageous, but I realize I have a great deal of courage and curiosity. I want to learn. I'm so happy to learn and eager to learn. And yes, I do have courage, but that courage was born of necessity. I could not abandon this. I knew the feeling was so strong of the truth of it. And the grandmothers were so smart. They would give me these little dings of miraculous, hello, we're here, sort of. When I'd be in the depths of, oh dear, I can't go on with this, or nobody's going to ever want to get this book, blah, 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 fill in the blank. I had lots of that. And they would just give me this little teaching, just enough where I went, oh, oh, no, that's right, that's right. And then I'd keep going. It was like they would lay down the breadcrumbs, and like Hansel and Gretel, I would follow the breadcrumb to the next
Mm.
place. And it was enough.
Yeah. And can I ask you about that too, Sharon? I'm really curious about how this manifests for people, right? So, I get these nudges, and it does feel like somebody actually just kind of pushed me in the back and went, go on. This is a good idea. Do you know, sort of encouraging me along. And the grandmothers do that to me. But I'm curious about how it is for you, how those moments when you were doubtful or when you were questioning yourself, and those dings, as you call them, of encouragement or nudges, like those intuitive hits and that knowing and that hearing spirit, or however it manifests. What is that for you? Like, how do you know? Like, what is that knowing for you?
Well, I just encourage everybody who is got this pebble in their shoe to be real curious and not judging yourself, and just consider the possibilities, because the divine doesn't waste any opportunity. I mean, the classic stuff, you may be, in the doldrums, and someone may call out of nowhere. You may hear a song that's like, oh, what's that? Or somebody will say something. I mean, when I was first working with them, I was having all these experiences with birds. Inwardly, I was very much connecting with a great eagle. And I would have these experiences in meditation, with this great eagle. And then I came home. I'd gone, I don't know where I'd gone. I drive into my driveway, and on the top of my roof, here is this great blue heron. That had never happened, ever, ever. And he was walking the roof line up and down, back and forth. And I thought, what in the world? What's the chances of that? What is that? Anyway, I didn't get it because I was at that point, I wasn't trusting enough to say, yes, they're confirming this work with the great birds. This is for real. No, okay, I was too much in my mind to yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. And so I just thought, well, gosh, that's really something. That's wonderful, blah, blah, on to the next. So that afternoon, I come home from grocery shopping, walking up the path to my house, and I look over to my left, and here in my garden is this very strange looking big duck and we live at the beach. There are not ducks where we're at the beach. And this one had some strange blue markings. And I thought, what? And it looked like he was going to nest in my front garden. I took the groceries in, came back out, and did it again. And then he was gone. Okay. Again, just to give you an idea, I was so mental in those days. My intuition wasn't well developed. So again, I'm dismissing this. Then I hear this noise out on the back alley, like I don't know, 200, 300 feet away. So I go out there in the alley. Here's the duck. The same duck. I'm like, okay, something's going on.
Mm.
And they would do things, strange things like that, that made me begin to notice. Those kinds of things made me begin to notice everything around me. And I began over time, over the years, to realize, nature speaking to me. The breeze is just came up. It's telling me something. Everything is alive. And I began to recognize that. And it's all working in concert together to support life. And I was in this flow of life where I was trying to reach out and help others with these stories. And so the universe was helping me like crazy and still
Mm.
does.
Yeah, that's lovely. And just, now that you're talking about how, this connection with all of life, can you talk us through the net of light? What it is, how
Mm.
that fits in this story, and how the grandmothers brought that to your awareness, and then how you brought that to the world for our awareness.
Yes, yes. When the grandmothers first came, they talked a lot about the imbalance on Earth between yin and yang and the absolute necessity of woman stepping into her power, into the power of yin, and that women needed to do this not only for themselves, but for everything that lives, because we, as the human female, are reservoirs of the energy of yin for life on this planet. That was the first thing. And I thought that was the reason I thought that was the only reason they came. That was it. But there was more. And there will probably always be more. And the next more was they began to speak about something they called the net of light, and to talk about this great fabric of grid or web or net that covers the earth, penetrates the earth, covers all life form, everything, penetrates it all from the macrocosm to the microcosm, on every level. And I thought, okay, I could see that. And I thought, this is a good meditative tool. That's what they're teaching me, this meditative tool, so that I can use to recognize that I am connected with everyone and everything that lives, and that I can be supported by everything, and I can give support to everything. And I thought of it that way, as this lovely mental tool to be used this way. And so I began to teach people how to work with that, how to open to the net of light. Now, I'll do this briefly in a minute, and connect and feel connected, so that there's none of this sense of being alone or isolated or separated out, but rather the perception and understanding of being part of this pattern of connection, this living, breathing net of love, net of light. Okay, well, just to give you a little alert, in 2014, scientists actually discovered the net of light through the use of the Hubble telescope, and learned that, wow, this is the biggest construct in the whole universe. This net of light, or cosmic web, as they call it, connects every life form from the tiniest to the greatest everywhere. And so if you go on and Google cosmic web, you'll see it. You'll see the net of light. Okay. And here's how to work with it real simply.
Okay.
Think of or imagine a great fishing net, larger than the mind can imagine, bigger than you can see, because it covers everything, covers the whole planet, covers your lungs, pours through your bloodstream, is embedded in your bones, covers the earth, feeds every living thing. This is the fabric of being of the universe, the great net of light that supports and connects life everywhere. And as you think of it, you activate it. Each time you think of the net of light, it becomes stronger, more able to hold life. The grandmothers say this is the great net of light that will hold the earth during the times of change that have come now. Each time you think of it, you will strengthen the net of light, increase its ability to help hold the earth steady during these most unsteady times. The net of light is lit by the jewel of the heart. It is your own heart, the radiance within your own heart that lights the net of light. And through this heart, you give light and you receive light. So you are always holding and you are always held. And as you breathe out, the light within the net of light goes out along the strands out into the universe, wherever there's a need, wherever there's suffering, wherever there's fear, separation, grief, anger, wherever there's cutoff from the source, the net of light mends and heals, reconnects and fills. And as you breathe in this radiance throughout your bloodstream, throughout your mind, throughout every part of your being. And so you're receiving and you're giving, and it all happens effortlessly. So just think now of this great connection we share at this moment. And we think of all of those throughout the world who need this connection now, especially the places on earth where there is suffering, where there's war, famine, drought, misery. We magnify the presence of the net of light, which is the underpinning of life everywhere. And it broadcasts this radiance throughout the planet. Experience your own self being held by the net of light, rocked, cradled, and filled with light. Every breath you take brings this goodness into your body, mind, organism, healing, blessing, balancing every part of you with every other part. We cast the net of light to the human family, to every woman, every man, every child. We cast to those who are living now, to those who lived in the past, and those who will come in after us, asking that each receive whatever they most need in this now moment. We cast to the animal family, the animal kingdom, asking that every animal receive whatever they most need. To the plant kingdom, to the mineral kingdom. We cast to the very elements of life itself, earth, air, fire, water, ether, or space. And we cast to the elemental spirits of life, those guardians, those great blessers and caregivers of life everywhere. And together we ask, everyone in all the worlds be happy. Everyone in all the worlds be happy. Everyone also includes you, and that includes me. May all the beings be happy.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sharon. That was absolutely beautiful. So powerful. Yeah.
This is the work we do. We come together. We work with the net of light. We pass on the grandmother's empowerment into the energy of yin to one another. And we share with each other the message, and how we're learning it. The grandmothers say, we don't care if you tell anyone about this. We don't care. You don't need to proselytize. You don't need to do anything. We ask that you live this message, because by living this message, you become a walking blessing upon the earth. You become love in action. So that's how we support one another in order that we can live that way, be that way. You can reach us through netoflight.org or through grandmotherspeak.com, and we'll be happy to hear from you, and we'll help you.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure that all those details are in the show notes, Sharon, and also links to where the books can be got as well, because they're well worth the read. Anybody who's interested in the story, but also the message, and in working with the Net of Light. And there are Zoom meetings that happen regularly as well. Will you just talk through those various events that happen every month?
Yes. We have the books. There's 4 books, and we also have 2 of the books are on audio now. The other 2 aren't finished yet. We have an online teaching the first Sunday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We have a global Net of Light meditation on the 4th Tuesday of each month at 11 o'clock Pacific time. And in the global Net of Light meditation, we break into small groups of about 6 or 7 people, according to language group, so that you can do some more personal, deep sharing of working with this, the Net of Light, working with yin, we use the books, pull a little quote from the grandmothers out and discuss it, share with each other. We have conference calls every week. There's one, there's a bunch of them, but I'm aware of one Monday, one Wednesday, one Friday. We have study circles where we study one of the books and talk and share. Those are on Zoom. We have a Ho'oponopono group that meets once a week and practicing the forgiveness work from the great Hawaiian kahunas. And we have in-person meetings around the globe. There are 2 coming up in Northern California, one in January, one in June. There is one in upstate New York. There are a series of them in Holland and in Germany. That's all I can think of right now. But they're popping up all the time. If you go to the netoflight.org or grandmotherspeak.com, you'll see all this stuff. Also, we loaded the website with as much information as possible. So if you cannot get to a group, you can find all kinds of videos and songs and interviews, teachings. The grandmother's teachings are archived there. I think I've covered.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah. And I'm going to be starting my own group back up again. I'd taken a hiatus for a few months there, but I'm going to return to that at the beginning of December. If you're interested in joining a Net of Light gathering, the information is all on the website, and you can search by country even for beacons who are doing the work in your country and make contact. There's contact details and that you can reach out for either online or in-person gatherings. And there's a few of us here in Ireland now doing the work. So yeah, Sharon, there's so many other things I would have loved to have asked you, but I'm just mindful of time, and maybe that'll be for another time. But I'm so grateful to you for sharing your story and the story of the grandmothers, for coming on the Pebble in My Shoe. and bringing the net of light to my audience. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to you, Miffy, for doing this, because all of us need so much and are needed so much to trust our core, to trust that voice within. It's not to be wasted, and it's valuable and it's fun.
I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, and I'm beyond thrilled that Sharon led us through a net of light meditation. All the details and links are in the show notes for you to follow up if you're interested to know more about the Net of Light and the Great Council of Grandmothers. Also, if you're in Ireland and would like to join a weekly online group, I'll be facilitating this on Zoom from Monday, December 2nd at 7 p.m. and every Monday from then on. I keep a mailing list for this group, and so if you'd like to be kept informed about it, drop me an email to miffyhoad@gmail.com and I'll add you to it. Thank you for listening to The Pebble in My Shoe. If you enjoy listening, I ask that you like, share and subscribe, please. It helps let other people know that it's available. As well as hosting this podcast, I'm a personal growth coach at the Daisy Coaching Hub, where I provide one-to-one coaching for personal and spiritual growth, mental health and well-being, group mindfulness classes and events, and a range of original self-directed resources to support, nurture and energize you. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at the Daisy Coaching Hub, or LinkedIn as Miffy Hoad, and you can visit my website www.daisycoaching.ie. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.